Hey, welcome to Young Americans Abroad, your best place to find weekly content on young American soccer players playing overseas. My name's Austin Van Churn.
My name's Patrick Ferry.
And welcome to our show. So we have a great show for you guys today. A big performance from Christian Pulisic.
We got Weston McKennie with his first start since returning from injury.
And yet another appearance from Tim Weah. You don't want to miss it. Well, speaking of Christian Pulisic, he actually played in 2 games this week. The first was a 2-1 defeat to Red Bull Salzburg this week.
In the Europa League there. Eh?
That's right, yeah. And Christian Pulisic actually came on in the 61st minute, played the final 29 minutes of that game, had an assist to Andrea Novakovich in the game, but looked okay, a little disjointed still, and obviously Dortmund got the loss, which was unfortunate. But he had another game this weekend that he did pretty good in, and that was Dortmund's 3-2 win against Eintracht Frankfurt.
And Timmy Chandler there.
Yeah.
A little battle there.
Yeah, that's right. And both teams were in the top 4 coming into the weekend, so it was a good clash, and Frankfurt's a really good team. And it proved to be a really good game, too, which there was 2 goals in stoppage time, which Dortmund ended up coming out the victor in the game. But Christian Pulisic actually had played a part in the first goal in that game. Actually played in a great cross that led to a Marco Reus own goal, not to be confused.
And that's what I don't like, Austin. It should be an assist. That is technically an assist.
Yeah, it would be nice if it was counted as an assist. But yeah, it was a great cross. And like we said, Marco Reus put it right in the back of the net. And Dortmund went up 1-0. And then for the second goal for Dortmund, Christian Pulisic had a nice little give-and-go scenario with Michy Batshuayi, and Michy scored that second goal, and that was a Christian Pulisic assist. So
yeah, there we
picked up 2 assists this week.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Great. Seems like he's really getting back to his old self. Seems like that.
Well,
well, almost, but
a little bit, yeah.
A little bit, but just that maybe that time on the bench, kind of that little rejuvenation for him.
Yeah.
Kind of found a little more energy, and seems like he's starting to pick up his form there.
Yeah, I think coming off the bench the past few games has kind of given him time to refocus, kind of really think about what he does as a player. And you could definitely see that in that Frankfurt game. He looked a lot more active in that game. Looked like he was combining with players a little bit better. Played a lot of really good crosses in that game.
That's what we were talking about.
Box.
Like you talk about all the time, Austin. His final, it just seemed like he was very unsure of himself in that final third.
Yep.
And he just seemed much more confident, essentially, in the final third.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like I said, he played probably 3 or 4 really good crosses into the box that game, which is the first time I could really say I've seen that from Christian Pulisic this year. Usually,
the Dortmund fan was happy.
Yeah, I was very happy this weekend. But yeah, really good performance from Christian Pulisic. I would say his best performance in 2018, and his best performance probably since late fall, maybe in November, December. Okay, that Bayern game probably was the last time he really played well. So yeah, it's good to see him finally have a good game by all accounts, get 2 assists this week, and hopefully jumpstart his season, and hopefully he can finish the season strong here, because we're kind of getting down to the final stretch of games, and he's got to come on. Yeah, and Dortmund are now sitting 3rd over Frankfurt right now. So they have a little bit of slack. I think the next closest team is 3 points away from them, 2 or 3. So they have some room there, but they're also 1 point behind Schalke, who's in 2nd place right now. They're fierce rivals, and they have another American
you're about to talk about. Yeah.
So things are looking okay for Dortmund right now. Obviously not in the Europa League with that loss earlier in the week, but hopefully Christian Pulisic can play a part in the second leg of that tie, or that game with Red Bull Salzburg coming up, and hopefully can gain some more starts here and keep this run of form up. That's the best thing that we can hope for Christian Pulisic right now, and maybe we'll see him in March in a week. I'm not sure about that yet, but now we want to switch over to the Championship in England and talk about a player that we love, CCV. And we heard a quote from his manager this week, actually.
Yeah.
So, Pat, what was that?
So, his manager, Mick McCarthy.
Mick McCarthy, yep.
And Ipswich Town has really just been taken back of how well Cameron Carters has integrated himself into the first team, and how well his defense has performed compared to the first half of the season, where you don't know the specific statistics, but they let in way more goals than actual games.
Okay.
And since CCV's been in the lineup, they've kept good amount of clean sheets. Just recently, this over the weekend, 0-0 draw against his old team there, Austin, from his previous loan.
And that's Sheffield United, yeah.
Yeah, so it was great to see, and we talked about it the last episode. He was the Ipswich Town Player of the Month for February.
That's right.
And the manager has been giving him all praise and actually kind of said he would love to talk to Mauricio Pochettino there about signing Carter-Vickers full-time, and just getting his foot in the doorway is essentially what he said. So that's great to see that Cameron Carter-Vickers is really making an impact.
Yeah.
And just for a career progression, he's still young. He's 20, I believe, and even to stay in the championship for another season or two, and that's a physical, good, pretty solid league like Tim Ream's performing well.
Right.
And if he can establish himself there for a few years, that's great. It's a great sign.
Yeah, I think that would be a good move for him, maybe going forward, staying in the championship for a year. But we'll see. That's exciting to hear about his coach. His coach there really favors him. Yeah, which is something we didn't hear coming from Sheffield United. So. You want to...
Yeah, and Austin, we're going to, again, like we talked about last episode, you're really excited about this prospect here with his second appearance for Paris Saint-Germain.
That's right, and that's Tim Weah. So Tim Weah actually came on in the 71st minute of PSG's game this weekend, played 19 minutes, and he looked okay. Had a few more minutes this game to really show what he's all about. Made some beautiful runs, about 3 or so that we saw through the highlights.
Yeah, what did you call that one? It kind of curved through for his one-on-one, the keeper there.
Yeah. So I kind of called it, I'm not sure if it's a real technical term, but it was like a banana run.
I like the term. I think it's good.
Yeah, so he kind of was staying off sides, came back, and then curved his run in behind the defense. And actually, someone played a ball to him and was one-on-one with the keeper again this weekend, but was unable to score. So he's getting himself in the good positions. 2 one-on-ones in 2 games is pretty good. Now he's just got to finish. So hopefully the third game and the third one-on-one chance he gets, he can put away.
And Austin, how do you feel just about the rest of the season? I know PSG's kind of has wrapped up the league essentially. Do you see any more time for Weah to get on the field there? And I know you mentioned a few positive things that he displayed during the game, but just anything that kind of struck out to you, maybe that we don't get from the highlights, or just kind of about his general game that you think has a really positive impact?
Yeah, so I know we touched on his situation last week a little bit, or PSG's situation, and how it looks like he'll get minutes going forward this season to finish out the year. But I think something to take away from this game where Weah came in was his actual defensive performance. So he put in a pretty good defensive shift. He won a ball back in like the defensive third, I guess you would call it, of PSG. Just picked the ball off a player. It was a nice looking defensive sequence, and then also later on in the game, kind of in the corner, he had a nice tackle that kicked the ball out for a corner kick, and it was a pretty good tackle.
Clean tackle, right?
Yeah. So why I bring this up is that maybe to get more minutes on the pitch, putting in a defensive performance like he did in this most recent game shows Unai Emery that he's a complete player, someone who'll give his all when he's on the pitch, and something a player that Unai Emery can trust not only to attack, since PSG has a bunch of really gifted attackers that might not be Tim Weah's role when he's on the field, but someone a winger who can come in and also play defensively to also help them going forward on the counter and things like that could be good for Tim Weah to show what he can do when he's on the pitch.
Yeah, definitely.
So and then now we want to talk about a player in Portugal who finally, made an appearance for the first team again. It's been a little while now, and that would be Keaton Parker.
Yeah, Keaton Parker. It's been since January, Austin. Beginning of January. And this, I believe, actually, just according to the transfer market, it was without the E. It was his third appearance for the senior team there in Liga NOS.
Okay.
So, excuse me. He's been playing mainly for Benfica's B, like we've been mentioning. Something over 20 caps there.
Okay.
Plus the third appearance for the senior team, so he's getting some good football under his belt here this year, and it's exciting. Unfortunately, he hasn't been in the first team as much as we would like, but just to get subbed on the 83rd minute there in their close close win there just to keep them up in the top of the table. They're behind Porto right now in the standings in second.
Okay.
So they're in that Champions League playoff qualification spot, but they have Sporting, Braga, a few of those other top Portuguese teams right behind them. So it's a little, I think minutes will be a little more scarce for Keaton Parks as the remainder of the season goes on. But it's exciting to see him come on for at least 7 to 10 minutes plus that stoppage time there. And from the highlights that we saw, Austin, he looked pretty calm and composed. Yeah. Mixed in well with the first team, like he's been there for a little bit. Almost has a how do you pronounce this guy?
Nemanja Matic.
Nemanja Matic
that's the player that they're kind of comparing.
That's what they want him to mold into, yeah. And some of his bursts forward, I'm a Liverpool fan, looked like Emre Can there when he charges through with the ball, kind of away from that defensive position, but just that jolt of energy that Keaton Parks brings is really exciting to see. And if he can mold into a Matic, boy, by all means, we'd take that on the U.S. for the future.
Absolutely.
But yeah, just brief little cameo there for Parks, and we hope he can really solidify his place into the first team, like we've been saying.
Now I have one question for you, Pat. Okay. Do you think he deserves to be called in for this March friendly coming up against Paraguay? Do you think Keaton Park should be in that squad?
That's a good question, Austin. Honestly, like we discussed, many times, I say why not?
Okay.
If you guys have any other comments, I'd love to argue with you guys back and forth. But I say why not? He's at a top Portuguese club. He's gotten a few appearances there. But even the appearances that he didn't necessarily get in the field, he was named to the first team multiple times, which is another point. Training with the first team, along with obviously starting and producing some goals and assists for the second team there. Yeah. Just kind of pretty consistent player, and I think that would be a great confidence booster and just a great opportunity for him, especially in this March. This game, it's so meaningless. Why not try some other players out? So I don't know what your take was on that.
No, I agree with you. I think he's a player that you could definitely show has proven himself at the first team level, even though he hasn't maybe played as many games as we'd like to see him play before he makes his first U.S. men's national team appearance. But I believe he's done enough at his club right now to earn a call up to the camp. So I hope he gets called up. I would be extremely excited and happy if he's in.
That'd be awesome.
If he's in that squad coming up in about a week here. I think they're going to announce the roster this coming Sunday.
Yeah,
so hopefully,
stay tuned.
Yeah. So hopefully we hear Keaton Park's name in that roster.
Oh yeah.
Now moving back to Germany, we want to talk about another center mid.
Right, Austin returning from injury there in his first start.
Yeah, his first start. So we played 9 minutes last week in Schalke's game, but this week Weston McKennie made his first start since I believe early December for Schalke.
I think you're right,
in their 1-0 win over Mainz. So in the game I thought he looked pretty good. I know there was some back and forth on Twitter how he looked a little rusty at times and played some passes or lost possession a few times in bad areas or bad spots, but I think all in all he put in a pretty good defensive performance. He also, I think, really linked the midfield well in the game, and when he did lose possession, there was a time where he kind of hesitated for too long and waited to make a decision, and the ball got picked off of him. He was right there to try to win it back, and he actually forced an errant pass out of bounds. So I don't know how much more you can expect from a young player, a young 19-year-old.
It's football. There's going to be mistakes, right?
Right, exactly.
Can't play a perfect game. But.
Yeah. I saw no problems with his performance this weekend. Obviously, it could have been maybe a little bit better, but I thought he did a good job for his team. Played all 90 minutes, so that's really, really good to see.
Yeah, that's a great
Weston
sign.
McKennie.
So it seems like Tedesco really trusts him, especially coming back from injury.
Yeah. I think we touched on that again last week, how Tedesco seems like Weston McKennie seems like he's a player that Tedesco prioritizes and really, really trusts. So I really hope he keeps getting minutes and getting starts, even with Goretzka in the midfield, who came on as a sub in this game.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure what his situation is, whether he's injured and coming back from injury. That might be the case, or if maybe he's kind of fallen out because he's leaving for Bayern this summer or something. But just to have Weston McKennie get starting minutes, that's great for me. And, I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, and then dropping down a league to the two Bundesliga, Austin. That's another player that I know you've got a little backstory here, and excited to talk about him a little bit. It's been a while.
Yeah, that's right. And that would be Julian Green, who's at Greuther Fürth right now. And not to toot my own horn too much, so don't come at me. But I actually put out a thread this past weekend on Julian Green and his situation at Greuther Fürth right now. So look that up.
Booned Americans, great account. Great account.
Thank you. Yeah, so I put out a thread, and it just highlighted how Julian Green's played over the past 5 games for Greuther Fürth, who have gotten or won, I guess, 13 out of 15 possible points their last 5 games. So they had 4 wins and 1 draw. And they were sitting in the relegation zone before this run of play, and now they're, I believe, in 14th right now, 3 points above the relegation playoff position. So they finally climbed themselves out of relegation, and a big reason for that has actually been Julian Green. So in those 5 games, they've deployed Julian Green in kind of a cam number 10 position.
So do you think that's his best position possibly, or where he looks most dangerous?
Well, yeah, I mean, right now, I would say yes to answer that question. Yeah, I think it's his best position because it kind of combines everything that he's good at. And you know, the things he's good at, I guess, to go into it more, is he's very good at, he actually has a really good first touch, and he's been playing some really good passes from the middle, springing a lot of counters with some nice,
really
insightful balls. Yeah, he's really linked the defense to the attacking, third, the attacking trio that they have playing up front. He's done a great job of linking play in the middle. He's also, playing as a cam for him is also better because when he was playing on the wing, maybe earlier in the season, I hadn't seen too many highlights of him on the wing at Greuther Fürth, but I just know from watching him with the national team and then also some of his games when he was playing for Bayern and in the Bayern reserve team, the highlights I saw when he played on the wing, he kind of was very isolated and didn't really impact the game, as much. So I think playing as a cam, that allows him to move a lot more free, move freer and exchange to either wing. And when he does that, he actually has played a lot of nice crosses in from mostly the left wing. He likes to float out onto, and I think that's great for him.
That's a great sign.
Yeah, it's great to see him playing well. And honestly, so this past weekend they played Kaiserslautern, Greuther Fürth, and they won 2-1. And Julian Green actually had the first goal in that game.
Hey, back on the score sheet.
Yeah, that's right. And this is the first goal for I think a long time.
I
don't think he's scored this year. I might be wrong about that, but yeah, he in that Kaiserslautern game, I watched the whole game. He was by far, in my opinion, the best attacker, not only for Greuther Fürth, but for Kaiserslautern in that game. He really stood out when you watched him in that game. So I'm really excited. I know going into this little film study I did, I wasn't really expecting too much of Julian Green. He's kind of player I've written off in my mind. Didn't really think he had a men's national team future. But now watching these games, I think it's very possible that he could play his way into the men's national team fold again. And I don't know if he should get called up this March. We had a little back and forth with a Greuther Fürth fan who actually said that he might be too important to Fürth right now, that they wouldn't even release him for this game. So
completely agree with you, Austin. There, it's just they're doing so well. Julian Green's really come to his form. Staying above that relegation zone is so crucial for them.
It is important,
and especially like we were talking about earlier too, the potential for injuries.
Yeah, a lot of potential for injuries. We see with Kenny Saif.
A lot of ifs.
That limited him for a long time.
We won't talk about that.
Knock on wood.
That's not right.
But yeah, I'm really excited by what I saw from Julian Green, and he's a player that I think could really help us in the future. So yeah, now we want to talk about another attacker, another player.
The other Jupiler League.
Yeah, the other Jupiler League. That's right.
Scored 2 goals, right?
Yeah, a player that we've talked about a lot recently, it feels like.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that would be Andrea Novakovich, who actually played today at the time of recording. We're recording on a Monday. and he scored 2 goals today, which brings his goal tally up to 17 on the season in the Jupiler League for Telstar. So Telstar got the 3-2 win as well. So a big performance yet again from Andrija. It seems like we keep saying that because it's kind of been the story. Yeah. so yeah, another great performance from Andrija. We didn't get a chance to see the goals just because they happened today. So hopefully, maybe if you follow us on Twitter at YAAWSR, we might be able to tweet some stuff out about those goals and discuss them a little bit more. But yeah, now we want to talk about an unfortunate situation that happened this week, and that's a situation that involves Jonathan Klinsmann. So, Pat, do you want to kind of fill us in a little bit more on this weird situation?
Yeah, so, apparently Jonathan Klinsmann has had a little trouble possibly with his goalkeeper coach, who recently spoke to the press and essentially said that he has some of the basic tools and tangibles as a goalkeeper should, but his attitude or his work ethic is not the proper, almost, don't want to quote me here, but like German kind of hardworking mentality. Disciplined, right? Exactly. Yeah. He's almost too Americanized.
That's what the goalkeeping
coach said. And then Austin, I know
not sure what that means.
Not sure what that means, but I know the head coach and I believe one of the possible owners or directors.
I think it was the sporting director for Hertha.
So you want to kind of dive into that portion of it?
Yeah. So their manager Paul Dardai actually kind of recanted what that goalkeeping coach said and just emphasized that Jonathan's a young player, just came into the squad this year, wasn't in their youth academy, so it'll take some more time maybe for him to integrate into the way Hertha does things, but he definitely took away or like I said, recanted the fact that it's his Americanism or his American style that's been the problem. But he's also kind of mentioned that he seems like he's had a little bit of trouble settling, so definitely maybe some truth to what's been said about him, even though it hasn't been conveyed maybe in the right manner. But that's something to keep an eye on. I think Jonathan has done well this year.
Yeah, we saw that one appearance for the Europa League.
That's right, in the Europa League against Oosterhuis. I'm not sure how you pronounce that team. The team that played Arsenal and actually won. But yeah, he had a good game in that Europa League match, actually saved the penalty. And then he's been playing in the reserve team for Hertha as well as I believe their U23s. So he's gotten game time.
Yeah, I'm not worried. I don't know about you, but
he looks the part. I mean, physically he looks like a good goalkeeper. We saw him at the U20 World Cup this past spring/summer, and he looked good in their last game. I think it was against Venezuela or Ecuador. I keep getting the two confused. I think it was Venezuela. He looked really good in that game. By far was our most important player in that game. Saved a lot of shots in that game. But then we saw the first game in that tournament against Ecuador where he had a mistake and didn't look nearly as good as he did in that Venezuela game. So we'll see how Jonathan Klinsmann does going forward. I'm not sure if he'll get any chances this year to play again with the first team, just because Hertha aren't floating comfortably right now. They're still, playing their season out, and every game's kind of important for them. Although they're not really close to relegation, but they don't have a great team, in my opinion, this year to really just try things. So he might get another shot with the first team this year, but I would think not. But we'll still keep an eye on him, maybe report on some of those reserve team performances he's taking part in right now.
And Austin, another player we want to talk about as well, another MLS Academy player, youngster moving abroad into the Bundesliga.
That's right.
Great team there, Austin, and that's no other than
Chris Gloucester, who actually signed for Hanover last week. He's a left back. He was actually on trial at Schalke, but was not offered a contract there. Yeah, with Zion. Zion. Yeah, he actually was on trial at the same time as him. So this move to Hanover shows one thing for me, and that's that he's very ambitious. It seems, you would think if he doesn't get a contract at Schalke, what are his next options? You would think maybe go back to the MLS, maybe go back to New York Red Bulls, try to get into that team there because they've been playing youngsters like we've seen. Ben Mines is a good example.
Great weekend.
Who's played well in that game. And you would think that would be the natural move for him. But no, he stayed in Germany, and he signed a contract in Germany, or he will sign a contract when he turns 18 with Hanover. So that shows me that he's a very ambitious player. He still thinks that he can prove more or I guess develop more, and he feels that this move, staying in Germany, even if it's not at his first choice club, it's the best for him, and he's prioritizing his development. So that's really exciting to see for me.
Right, and I know we were talking about earlier, he's an outside back to left back, and he is a little undersized, like you kind of mentioned, but I don't think that'll hurt him in the long run at all.
No, so we actually got to see a little bit of him at the U17 World Cup this past fall. I think on that team he was in my opinion, the third best outside back in that tournament for the U.S. I think Jalen Lindsey is a little bit better than him. Also, Serginho Dest, in my opinion.
Ajax Academy there, right?
Yeah. He's more of a right back, though, but he looked a lot better going forward. Played some nice crosses into the box. I really like Serginho Dest. So I would say Chris Gloucester was kind of the third outside back on that team. And, you know, he played well in that tournament at times. Some errant passes here and there. Pretty fast, you know, doesn't have blinding speed, but enough speed to, in my opinion, I think make it at the professional level. We'll just have to see. Like Pat said, he's a little undersized, but obviously size isn't a huge factor in soccer. It depends on, you know, how you play and your technique and everything else. So, you know, staying or moving to Germany and staying ambitious, I think, is a great move from Chris Gloucester, and hopefully we get to see some more of him in the future.
And now, you guys already know, we're heading into our final segment, Quick Kicks.
So you could test Dwayne Miller. It's Altidore over the wall, and that one is in! Josie Altidore from a long way out. The opening goal for the United States.
So guys, to kick things off here, we had Eric Palmer-Brown named in the 18, but was an unused substitute in KV Kortrich's 2-0 win over Charleroi.
And moving to Liga MX, Rubio Rubin started and played 71 minutes in Club Tijuana's 1-0 loss to Tigres. Now moving over to Germany, Nick Tadegui played 90 minutes in Schalke U19's 2-1 win over Borussia Dortmund's U19s.
And another player, Kenny Saif, played 90 minutes in a 2-1 win over Royal Antwerp, but there are 2 red cards given to Anderlecht during that game.
And next, Conrad de la Fuente played 90 minutes for Juvenil B in their 2-1 win this past week.
And unfortunately for Matt Miazga, a humiliating and brutal 5-1 setback to Utrecht. And last but not least, we had the 4th round draft pick in the MLS draft. Brian Alowski getting his debut for Legia Warsaw there in a nice win.
So thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you subscribe down below and like this video.
Make sure to follow our Instagram and Twitter accounts. We put out some great quality content.
And if you want to, leave a comment in the comments section. We'd love to interact with you guys.
And Austin, again, one day. We have a friendly coming up, but one day, what's going to happen?
That's step one. One day, we'll win the World Cup. One day.